And the thing is, like, not everybody voted for Greg Abbott. Not everybody voted for Donald Trump. Not everybody voted for Kamala Harris either. Because some people voted either third party or independent or stayed the hell home. So you're going to blame them as well? You're going to say, well, that's what you get? This is the problem with this empire. Is that it will talk you out of your humanity. It will lead you away from your compassion. Simply to own the conservatives. And the conservatives will do whatever they can and say to own the libs. And that's the problem. So there is a flash flood that has taken place. This is one of the flash floods that have taken place within recent weeks in the state of Texas. There was a flood that happened in early June. Yes, in June. That happened as well that a lot of people don't know about. And so I want to share that as well as this flood that's happening. Because there seems to be a trend that's happening now in places like Texas. And this is concerning. When it comes to flooding here in places like Florida, Florida is not as prone to flooding because Florida is basically like a big old sponge, right? Texas, not so much. And so this is why, we can have torrential downpour over and over and over and not endure as much flooding. Now, we still can flood, but nowhere near as much as different areas in Texas. So I want to share this really quick first. And shout out to Delilah Barrios, who actually ran for Texas governor in the Green Party. She actually shared this with me, this story with me about what happened in Texas recently. So let me make sure I get this. So this happened in early June, and then we'll get into what happened just over the weekend. So let's go up to here. So it says all 13 people killed in early June flash flood in San Antonio identified. So there was a flash flood in San Antonio. And how many people knew about that? How many people knew about a flash flood that happened in early June, just a month ago? That's interesting. All right, let's get into this. So this came out on June 30th, just a few days ago. It says the Bexar County Medical Examiner has identified the 13th victim deadly flooding in storms earlier this month. 77-year-old Esther Chung died near Loop 410 and Perrin Beitel on the northeast side. She was the oldest victim recovered. The youngest was 28. And so you can see the cars that were recovered from the floods. Because the victims and their ages, the gender, where they died. And so here's the list of all the victims. We have some that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So they were all adults. And let's get down to this. It says the storms unleashed more than 6 to 7 inches of rain in just a few hours in San Antonio, causing sudden flash floods across the city. Near Loop 410 and Perrin Beitel on the northeast side, a wall of water swept more than a dozen vehicles into Beitel Creek, killing 11 of the 13 victims. The other 2 victims were found in a separate flood-affected areas near Leon Creek, Highway 90, and several miles upstream. The San Antonio Fire Department, along with San Antonio Police Department and volunteers, including Texas A&M Task Force 1, launched extensive rescue operations. They conducted more than 70 water rescues and saved numerous individuals stranded in trees or stuck in waterlogged vehicles. It says in mid-June, the city of San Antonio and Bexar County issued a joint disaster declaration following the floods. It called for the state of Texas to evaluate the disaster qualifies to request federal assistance for the recovery process. City and county officials said that they specifically seek state support to assist with cleanup, infrastructure stabilization, and any other recovery efforts. City and county officials have initiated investigations, including an independent engineering review of flood control measures around Beetle Creek and Loop 410, while seeking accountability and strategies to prevent future tragedies. The city's attorney's office said it will work with other agencies to conduct a review. The city will also conduct damage survey of infrastructure impacted by flooding. A cost estimate will be shared with the mayor and city council once completed. So this happened just a month ago. And how many people knew about it? Some of you may have known, but many people didn't know. And so why are we just now hearing about this when this should have also been big news as well? So that also happened in San Antonio, sorry. And here is some video that was shared with me from Delilah Barrios about the flooding that happened in San Antonio. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And shout out to Vanholic for this. They say 36 occupied RVs and 11 tiny homes were swept away in minutes. People screaming for help, but the water was too fast to save them. That was from Kerrville Campground Manager. All right, so let's get into this. Let's take a look.
This used to be a campground. These are all campsites. You can see the pipes for the RV sewage. It was all full too. All those RVs are downriver, stuck on trees like that one.
So let's go to this part here again.
Stuck on trees. Like it was all
right there. So right here would be the road where you would drive your car or what have you. And on either side of this small road, you would have RVs lined up on either side. And it was full of RVs. And now they're gone because of a flash flood. That's how dangerous these things are. People die. And this happened in Texas a month ago. And now a month later, it happened again. So we're going to get into this right now because this is a serious issue that has recently happened. So let's get into this. So I want to share what happened recently. In another part of Texas. So here we go. So as you guys can see, the flooding is severe. This is what happened recently within the state of Texas. And many people have died. This includes children. This includes 14 children. I'm going to read this article think this was shared yesterday, if I'm correct. And some of the updates are from this morning. So this is Texas flooding update. Statewide death toll now at least 70, said officials. At least 67 people are dead after heavy rain lashed Texas, leading to catastrophic flooding. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has said emergency responders remain in a search and rescue posture hours after the flooding along the Guadalupe River inundated nearby areas. So many people have been swept away into an extraordinary catastrophe. He says asking for prayers from residents. At least 21 children are among the dead, including campers from a summer camp in the area, Camp Mystic, where 11 children and an adult counselor remain unaccounted for, according to Kerr County officials at a Sunday press conference. So this is the latest. So it actually went up to almost 70. And so a lot of people are asking the question, where was the warning? Where was the warning? How did it happen? Why didn't the warnings come soon enough? This is from 18 hours ago. This is from in Georgetown, Texas. This is how severe it is. Imagine. Imagine this is your neighborhood. You also can't forget that with floods like this, you also have to worry about snakes, gators. It floods sewer areas, so raw sewage gets into the waters. So even if you avoid the snakes and gators that may come into those waters, you can't avoid the sewage that could also infect you, among other things. And so it's turned also into a major health hazard, on top of maybe electrical outlets, down power lines, things like that, which could also be very dangerous. So this is the result. And a lot of people would say, well, what is this? Is this climate change? Yes, it is. That's part of it. This has a lot to do with it. I want to share this because this also shows the human element. This is what's happening to people. And I think this needs to be shared because you have to humanize the people that are suffering. And it's typically always working poor people. Let's take a look here.
Okay, my house is flooding. Anybody out there? I have my dad on hospice and I need to get him out of here. He's bedridden. He can't walk. He can hardly move. And look where the water is. So somebody, please, we've called 911. It's bad over here. In front of the house, it's like a river. I mean, it's like a lake. They can't come look. We've lost our cars, everything. We've lived here for 30 years and this has never happened. So anybody, please, if you have a boat or something, I need help. I need to get my dad out of here. It's starting to smell like sewer in here. Okay, my house is flooding. Anybody out there?
As you can see, who does this affect? does this affect the most vulnerable? Here you have a disabled man, bedridden, and now this is happening. And the question is what central planning could have been done to save this? What system could have been there to save people from this? The question is, why wasn't people warned in time? Why didn't we have the apparatuses to help people in time? This is what's going on in this country. And people wonder why some of us didn't even want to celebrate the 4th of July because of this shit. This is why some people say the hell with America. This is why. And you guys are like, America's the greatest country in the world. Is this the greatest country in the world? Is this? Where you have an orange fuckwit that decided to cut the National Weather Service just because it was too much money. Aren't lives not worth it? We don't have a proper central planning model because the central planning model that we have in this country is centered around the billionaire class. It's centered around the parasite class. That's what's so wrong about it. And the thing is, like everybody and their mom is like, oh, but if we have socialism, then we're going to have a dictatorship. Here's the dictatorship. Here it is. There it is, right there. And why in the hell are we sitting here looking at these people like Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis, Kathy Hochul, why are we looking at these people and going, well, maybe if we just, supplicate to these people? Why are we talking about call your congressman? I'm sick and tired. I'm done with calling them. I'm done. I'm finished. Call your congressman for what? If they don't care, then we shouldn't care about them. This is why dual power needs to be created. It needs to be had. Mutual aid needs to happen because guess what? These people don't give a damn about you, so you shouldn't give a damn about them. They're letting people suffer. And the thing is, it goes across both parties. Both. They do all this. They don't create real good infrastructure to keep us safe. How many times have we seen where torrential downpours happen in New York and then the subways are flooded? So it's not just limited to red states. It's both parties. Both. And so when we talk about both parties are trash, this is what we mean. And shame on Greg Abbott. Shame on him. Because as a disabled man, he should be able to have empathy with people like this. As a disabled man, he should have empathy. But some people who are marginalized will turn into the very same oppressors that oppress them. I don't care who you are. You could be LGBTQ, you could be black, you could be an immigrant. It doesn't matter. You can turn into the exact same oppressor that has been oppressing you just because you have somebody that's a little bit lower than you. And that pisses me off because that is a colonialist mindset. Decolonize your mind because this is what gets me mad. When we look down our nose at other people just because they are other, just because somebody on a pedestal, on a lofty throne, decides to tell us who our enemies are. No, 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 no. You decide what your enemy is, not them. Not them. Not them at all. They're trying to tell you, oh, these people who have very little power, they're the ones who are making your lives worse. No, the dudes at $300,000, $400,000 houses, sorry, not houses, yachts, and $1 million houses, wearing $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 Italian suits. Those are your enemies. And yet you want to believe them? You want to believe them? My God. I'm sorry, but seeing images like this, it pisses me off. Because there's no compassion. Human beings that are being treated like this. No compassion. No kindness. No care. I stayed paused on this image so that you could see, so that you could feel what I feel. And if you're not feeling what I'm feeling, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, why don't I feel bad for this person? Why don't I feel any type of remorse? Why don't I feel any type of anger for what this person is going through? And what we're not going to do is we're not going to go and point the finger at people in red states and go, well, this is what you voted for. This is your problem. It is not their fault that they're stuck in the same goddamn system that we're in. And then they are given the choices of either die by drowning or die by burning. That's not what we're not going to do. Because they're human beings too. And those of you who voted Democrat, guess what? You guys did some shit too, because you guys voted for somebody who greenlit a genocide. What you're going to do, what you're not going to do, is you're not going to come in and be like Greg Filipkowski. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm putting them on blast. Let's do it. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Let's do it. Ron Filipkowski says the people in Texas voted for government services controlled by Donald Trump and Greg Abbott. This is exactly what they're getting. This right here is an example of bigoted ass liberals who don't give a fuck about people. This is exactly what it is. Who sit on their ivory towers in blue states while people in blue states are also suffering. So we're not going to do that. Because here you have a liberal that's lacking in compassion too. I bet you this guy doesn't give a shit about people dying in Palestine. And he probably got a Black Lives Matter sticker and a rainbow flag somewhere in his house. But he doesn't care about the Black Palestinians that are being murdered. He doesn't care about the LGBTQ Palestinians that are being murdered. Decolonize your mind. This is the problem. We all our we do this dance where we do this partisanship dance. My team's better than your team. Ha ha, you died, so therefore we're gonna laugh at you. We're going to go, oh, fuck around and find out. And yet, when the other side does it to you, you guys get mad. about neither of you do it? How about neither of you, neither side goes into this game of going tit for tat and lacking in compassion just because they didn't decide to vote for your brand of genocider? How about we walk from both genocidal parties? Huh? What a novel idea that is. Let's walk away from both genocidal parties. Let's either walk towards a third party that's not genocidal or just eliminate all parties. Why not just do that? But you got this guy here. You got Ron over here basically shaming people. And the thing is, like, not everybody voted for Greg Abbott. Not everybody voted for Donald Trump. Not everybody voted for Kamala Harris either. Because some people voted either third party or independent or stayed the hell home. So you're going to blame them as well? You're going to say, well, that's what you get? This is the problem with this empire. Is that it will talk you out of your humanity. It will lead you away from your compassion. Simply to own the conservatives. And the conservatives will do whatever they can and say to own the libs. And that's the problem. We have to stop trying to own people. Because as we know in our history, trying to own somebody makes you morally repugnant. Now, I'm sorry for getting really upset, right? I'm sorry for having an outburst like that. But the problem is that when I said I want to see the world win, I meant I want to see the world win. Meaning, out of the clutches of this system. And then you have Kylie Jane Kramer. What did she say here? She said, I've been trying to wrap my head around how the flooding in Texas became so devastating so quickly. Why not evacuate? Then I saw this. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes around 4 a.m. That doesn't even seem natural. Well, I am so glad you have concern about this and how unnatural and an anomaly this is, Kylie, because guess what? Thanks to Carl Jha, he basically said, this you said no such thing as climate change. Well, guess what? I guess you got your answer. How did this happen? You denied the reason. You denied the reason. Science has been telling you guys for years, and some of y'all don't want to believe it. All because you want to keep your fossil fuels. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that we should have a viable energy source, and also the people who work in the fossil fuel industry should have a just transition into a different industry so that it no longer damages our planet. By the way, I believe in that. But at the same time, we need to get our asses off of fossil fuels because that's what's hurting us right now. We need to substitute. We need to switch it over. But the problem is that people like Kylie are like, oh, it doesn't happen. All because she wants to keep her gas guzzler. And don't get me wrong, this isn't me promoting the electric vehicles, even though, some of them are kind of cool. I'm going to be honest with you. We should be promoting mass public transit, high-speed rail. But Kylie here is like, oh, well, I don't think climate change is actually a thing. When in fact, it's one of the reasons why people are dying right now. And you don't like people coming across the border now? Well, wait until we start having more climate refugees coming across our border. Just wait. Because now the land that they have lived on for centuries, which they want to stay, now they have no choice but to leave. Because now it's becoming ruined. Because of Western civilization. Thank you for sharing that, Carl Ja. Carl's a real one. I want to share this as well, because I think this should be, this should also come into play. I wanted to see somebody splice these videos together. That's the reason why I'm doing this on Instagram, because I didn't want to have to switch from video to video. But here we go. Somebody shared a tweet from Ryan Grimm, says, I could not possibly be filled with more rage after seeing Texas Republicans blame the National Weather Service forecast for the unspeakable tragedy that hit the girls' camp. You were warned this could happen if you fired everyone, which I do agree. The thing is, it's like, this could happen, right? So let's go here.
On Wednesday, from the National Weather Service, predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. We worked with our own meteorologists to fine-tune that weather statement, and as many of you know, and many of you in broadcast journalism and meteorology, you can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
This rain event sat on top of that and dumped more rain than what was forecasted on both of those forks. When we got the report, it was about 7 feet or so on the South Fork, and within a matter of minutes, it was up to 29 feet, and all of that converged at the Guadalupe, and that's where we saw those very quick rise in flood.
But listen, everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw. The original forecast that we were...
So they under forecasted it. They under forecasted what happened. And you could be, well, JB, how did that happen? How did they under forecast it? Well, Donnie and his wisdom decided to cut it. So let's go here. Texas officials slammed Trump's National Weather Service for botched forecast, as the government weather forecaster has been hit with huge cuts by the president's administration. Thanks, Elon. Thanks, Donnie. All right. Says officials in Texas are casting blame on the National Weather Service for failing to forecast catastrophic flooding that has killed at least 27 people. It is now almost 70 by now. It says National Weather Service is among the government agencies targeted by the Department of Government Efficiency and its effort to gut the federal bureaucracy, losing approximately 600 staffers. After the cuts, the agency, which was already understaffed, began to prepare to offer degraded forecasting services, facing severe shortages of meteorologists, according to an internal document obtained by the New York Times in April. The original forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches in the Hill Country. Says the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts. So here is the diagram. Not the diagram, but the map. And so here is basically where the river runs through. Now let's continue here. Says sudden thunderstorms dumped more than 10 inches of rain on the area, causing heavy flooding from the Guadalupe River. Dalton Rice, the city manager for Kerrville, Texas, who also spoke at the press conference, said that the catastrophic flash flooding happened because the skies dumped more rain than what was forecasted in two of the river's forks. The flooding has killed at least 43 people so far. Now it's more than that, including 15 children. Now we have more than 21 children. It says more than 25 young girls from Camp Mystic, a Christian summer camp that sits near the river, are still missing. It says speaking to reporters on Air Force One, Trump called the catastrophe shocking and terrible. They don't know the answer yet as to how many people, but it looks like some young people have died. That's what he said. In May, all 5 living directors of the National Weather Service issued a letter warning that Trump cuts leave the nation's official weather forecasting entity at a significant deficit, just as we head into the busiest time for severe storm predictions like tornadoes and hurricanes. Our worst nightmare is that the weather forecast offices will be so understaffed that there will be needless loss of life. Says a statement to the Daily Beast, the spokesperson for the National Weather Service said the National Weather Service is heartbroken by the tragic loss of life in Kerr County. On July 3rd, the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, conducted a forecast briefings for emergency management in the morning and issued a flood watch in the early afternoon. Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd, and in the early morning of July 4th gave preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flood conditions occurred. The Times reported in June that just months after the Trump administration had forced out hundreds of staffers, the National Weather Service was granted a waiver to the administration's government-wide hiring freeze. A spokesperson told the Times that 126 staffers it planned to add, about a fifth of the number cut, were intended to stabilize the agency. So here you have an agency that's already understaffed getting severe cuts, and now people are losing their lives because they did not get the adequate warning that they should have got. Meanwhile, are we still giving tax breaks and incentives to big corporations? Yep. Are we still giving subsidies to big pharma? Yes. Are we still giving subsidies to big fossil fuels? Yep. Are we still giving subsidies to big ag? Yes. Are we still giving billions of dollars to Ukraine? Yep. Are we still giving billions of dollars to Israel? Yes. But we got to cut the National Weather Service. Because the American people aren't worth protecting that much. Trump called it shocking. He's shocked. Who could have saw this coming? And people wonder why. They wonder why people like me are communists. This is wicked. Wicked. Death tolls rising severely. And so my heart is with the people who suffered flash floods back in early June. My heart is with the people who suffer from flash floods just a few days ago. And this is why the system needs to change, because a proper a proper central planning model where we plan around the needs of the people instead of the profits of the corporations would mean that we have a fully well-funded National Weather Service. We would have emergency apparatuses able to pick up, like for instance, that gentleman that was bedridden, for people in the areas. Honestly, it should have been warnings given to people. Say this is a flood prone area. You need to pack your bags for at least a week. Have at least 1 to 2 pieces of luggage per person. I would have had the police escort charter buses down neighborhoods. And yes, who would pay for it? The state. Duh. Charter buses. And then anybody who doesn't have a car, right? They get on a charter bus. Anybody that is bedridden is in a registry. Ambulances would come and pick up those people and take them either to the local hospitals or areas where there are shelters where they won't be near flooding. Things like that. Also, what about the infrastructure for taking care of flooding and proper drainage in these areas? And have we changed the ecosystem so much that it can no longer absorb the amount of water that has fallen? And this is why you need an apparatus that actually has a good central planning model that's centered around the needs of the many rather than the wants of a few billionaires, rather than the wants of a few hundred millionaires. Absolutely. All because they want their taxes cut. Well, guess what? Now that's leading to people dying. That leads to people suffering even more. All because you made all this money and exploiting them, and now you don't want to give that money back to the community that you exploited, and so now these people are dying. But that's the cost of doing business, right? This is why capitalism is unsustainable. Absolutely. And so what can we do? We can do whatever we can in helping the people within the areas and where we live. Let me see this. Somebody commented that the KBTX website will have how to assist or help people in that area. I don't know if I can navigate it live on stream because I don't have necessarily a time, but I can. Oh. Let me see. Let me see. I don't see a link for anything right now. Here's what I'll do. I'll put the link to the website in the chat. If you guys can find it, if you guys feel like you want to donate for the people. But here's the thing. Here's another thing. People shouldn't have to donate. They shouldn't have to. They literally pay taxes to a government that should be able to help them adequately. So people shouldn't really actually have to crowdfund for help. That's a whole nother thing. But yes, let's continue to help our neighbors and get to know our neighbors for just in case if anything like this does happen. We can come up with plans of how to help one another if in case disaster strikes. I live in Florida. We are prone to hurricanes. We're literally in the middle of hurricane season right now. Hurricane season doesn't end until November 1st. It started a month ago. So we're in hurricane season right now. And if things, go south and a major hurricane comes, which I kind of feel like in May, are we going to have people who we can get in contact with within our community to help one another out? Make sure you get to know your neighbors and build solidarity with them. My thoughts are with the people in Texas.